All righty, so here we go, social media and online presence. And we know this is a very important part of our business now. Most of the advertising we do is internet-based, and most of the individual advertising we do is probably social media-based. How many of you already use social media as part of your business model for marketing and selling yourself? Everybody do that? All right, well, we do, but we do it all wrong, and that's what this class is going to be about. Let's see if I can click over here. No, I have to click over here, so there we go. Because here's the main thing that everybody tells me about social media. It's not working. And they're probably right. Has anybody in the class ever sold a listing because you put it on social media? I'll take that as a no. Has anybody ever gotten a lead you didn't expect and came out of nowhere because you were on social media? I'll take that as a no. And that's because that's not what social media does. We tend to think like real estate agents. We think everything we do should sell something, or everything that we do should generate a lead. Social media doesn't work that way. And one of the things that you need to do if you're going to start using social media effectively as part of your business model is stop thinking like a real estate agent, because that doesn't do anything. It's not about leads. I don't know how old you guys are, because I can't see all of you anyway. But in my day, we did classified advertising. Anybody remember doing classified advertising in real estate? It was never to sell the house. National Association of Realtors said back in the day that 1 out of 60 people ever bought the house that was in the ad that they looked at and called on. And you would starve to death as a real estate agent if you depended on those kind of numbers. That is not why we did classified advertising, and that is not why we do social media. We put everything out there that we possibly can, but the reality is most of your listings sell through the MLS. 80 to 85% of all transactions are co-broked, meaning one person listed it, another person sold it, and that happens through the MLS. So all those wonderful things you do about what a great real estate agent you are and how you do more than everybody else only accounts for the other 10 to 15%, but we won't talk about that tonight, will we? We all want to continue to feel good. But the reality is you put it in the MLS, you price it right, and that's probably where your sale is going to come from. So you need to think about most of your advertising, including social media, as something else. So if that's the case, then what is it? Well, here's an example. And David, I know you've heard of Brian Buffini, because everybody in our company is basically a Buffiniite. But there's other people out there like Brian. Tom Ferry, Mark Ferry. In my day, it was Tom Hopkins. And they all say a lot of the same things. Brian does it probably better than anybody else. But I did hear something that Brian said once on one of his seminars. And I wish he could come to this sometime, because I'd love to be able to tell him that I disagreed with him. He was wrong. His statement, though, made sense. He said you should fish where the fish are. Yeah, anybody go fishing here? Anybody ever go fishing in your whole life? I grew up fishing. It wasn't fishing, it was groceries, and it's part of where I grew up. And the reality is, he said that there's so many fish in this project, you know, calls and postcards and mailing and stuff. And he said, There's only 2 fish in social media. And so why waste your time? But here's the problem. That's not entirely correct. There's actually a lot of fish in social media. There's probably more fish in social media today than anywhere else. The problem is they're just not biting. They're not hungry. They are not interested in what you're dangling. And I know because I remember days growing up on Barnegat Bay. My job was to catch fish all winter long. I mean, all summer long, so we could eat them all winter long. And there'd be days when I could throw a bucket in the water and pull fish up. And there'd be days when I could bounce my hook off their nose and nothing was going to happen. And that's the way social media is. There's lots of people on social media. The problem is they're not interested in what you are putting on social media. Somebody once said, stop trying to make people interested in what you have and start being interested in what they're interested in. Does that make sense? It does if you think about it.
It makes sense.
You've probably been accosted at this point in real estate by dozens and dozens of people who want to offer you all kinds of services and tips and all kinds of things that you can do to enhance your social media and sell your listings. And you could try some of them. We're going to talk about some of them in a little bit. You should know who they are and what they offer. The reality is, how many of you have ever been to a wedding reception? Wave at the screen if you've been to a wedding reception. You go for the food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Putting your listing on social media is like going to a wedding reception and passing out flyers and business cards to all of the seats and all of the tables. You can do that, but you are not going to be the most popular person in the room, and nobody is going to keep your stuff. You can collect it all at the door. It'll be in that little round receptacle next to the door when you leave. And that's what advertising on social media is like. There are some things, though, that you need to think about as you do social media. You need to know why you're doing it. And that's why I've said what I've said. The why is not to post your listings, although you probably should. It can't hurt. You need to know who you're targeting and what you're doing for it. Social media is not about selling your listings. It's about branding. It's about promoting yourself, but you have to do it in a social way. You could put your listings on the MLS, and people go there on purpose to get them. When you put them on social media, nobody pays attention and nobody cares. Do you want to know how you can make social media work for putting your listings on the MLS? Post it on the MLS. Because you're posting it for the same reason we did classifieds. We didn't do classified ads in order to sell the house. We did classified ads to make the phone ring, but that doesn't even happen anymore. We mostly did it because the seller expected to see their house the next day in the classified ads. And in a sense, you're doing it for that reason. You put it on your Facebook page. You tag your seller so that they know you put it on your Facebook page and it makes them happy. But there's one more step, and this one actually might help. You ask your seller to repost it on their social media. And you have them say something like, hey friends, I'm trying to sell my house. So here's some information on it. Would you let your friends know that I'm trying to sell a house? I need your help with this. That's being social. That's not advertising. They're telling their friends they're trying to sell their house and they're asking for help. Now, the neat thing for you is if they take your post and repost it on their social media in a genuinely social way, what goes with that little post, that little flyer, that little e-card that you posted of your listing? Your information. So now they're putting you in front of all their friends and maybe some of their friends' friends, and who knows? That's being social. That's how social media works. It's never for a buyer in that sense, because if you ever get a buyer, I actually hope you never get a buyer for social media, because I know how real estate agents' minds work. If David there, and I keep saying David because I know him personally, so David, you're going to be my guy for this probably, but if David ever gets a lead off his social media that pans out, or even if it doesn't pan out, he's going to say to himself, wow, this really works. And for the next 10 years, he's going to do it over and over and over again until something happens, because that's about how long it takes if you don't treat social media like social media. And that's the philosophy behind everything I'm going to talk about tonight. So let's move on here to the problem with Facebook. How many of you are on Facebook? Wave your hand wildly or grunt into your microphone or something. All right, y'all are. Good. Y'all ought to come find me. I post some really interesting things. And I'll make you my friend. How many of you have a Facebook real estate page? Yeah, you were told that Facebook doesn't want you to do real estate on your personal page, right? And that's true, they probably don't, but that's probably mostly because they want to get a lot more pages. I don't know of anybody who's ever gotten in trouble for posting on their personal feed, because here's the problem. Facebook wants you to post all of your real estate business stuff on your real estate page, right? But all the people that you want to see it are on your personal feed, aren't they? Because they're the ones who know you. And so they didn't all come over. Although if you created a real estate page, please tell me one of the first things you did, and one of the things you still do today every couple months, is post something on your feed telling people that you have a Facebook real estate page. And here's the trick: asking them to check it out and let you know what they think about it. You're not asking them to read the ads and read the posts and maybe list their house with you. You're asking for their help. And you know what? Change your cover page once in a while. Change your profile picture once in a while. Every time you change your cover picture and your profile picture, everybody gets notified. And you can even post and say, I put a new picture up. What do you think? And get their opinion. And that's how you get people to go to those places and see some of the stuff that's there when they didn't really mean to in the first place. But that's the problem. Your business is on your real estate page, which probably has about 100 people that know about it. And your regular feed is where everybody is who knows you, that you want them to know you're a real estate agent, among other things, and that might have hundreds of people on it. And that's the issue with doing this without it being social. So it's actually all about relationship marketing. That's why it's called social media. It's not media. Media is TV. We watch the ads because they know they pay for the shows we want to watch for and make them free to us, right? It doesn't work that way. Social media is first and foremost of all social. It's about relationships. It's called social media for a reason. And it's first and foremost of all relationship, not promotion. It's all about the real estate conversation, because that's what social media is. It's a conversation. You want to get involved in the conversations. You want to look for conversations that you can start, conversations that you can participate in, people that you can interact with on social media. It's not a lawn sign. It's not a classified ad. It's a relationship. So you need to schedule your engagement. Our broker today did a whole hour-long session this morning. It was very good. He talked about scheduling your day. If you don't schedule yourself to do things, you never get around to doing them. And one of the things that you need to do is schedule your engagement with your social media. And we're going to talk about that on a little bit down the road, not too far. I'm going to give you something even more specific than that. But the reality also with social media is, if you don't Facebook, you can't Facebook. I mean, think about it. If you don't use Facebook for social purposes, you might as well hardly use it for any business purposes. Because if you don't know how to interact with people on social media, then you're not going to know how to interact with them on Facebook. You can still do some things like post your listing and send them to your seller and hope somebody sees your stuff. But not all of us are going to be big at social media. The more social media is a part of what you do, the more it can be a part of your business. It doesn't work the other way around. So if you're just getting started, start just getting into using your social media as social media and get the feel and get the hang and get the tips and get the interaction. If you are using it, then you want to do what I call Buffini-ize it. And I mentioned Brian Buffini earlier. The reality is Brian Buffini should be better at social media than any of us, because one of the basic principles that's behind his stuff is this relationship marketing. And Dave, I don't know if you remember notes, calls, and pop-bys. You remember that, right? You schedule a time every day to mail out 5 notes, to make 5 calls, and once a week you find a customer or two to do a pop-by or take them to lunch. It's a relationship, and these are with your existing clients, not with new people. How many of you want to know the secret to real estate? Yeah, I know there's a lot of them. But here's the secret to real estate. If you get a database of 1,000 people and you contact them in one manner or another 4 times a year, you will never need another new client for the rest of your life. Now, when you figure out how to get 1,000 people in your database, you let me know. But it's the same thing with social media. You need to do the equivalent of notes and calls and pop-bys. I don't know, what's the equivalent in Facebook of a note? Direct messaging? You could direct message people once in a while. Calls, pop-bys, you'd have to figure out how to incorporate those ideas to make contact and interact with people. But the most important part of that is being present. Being present with them at the right moment. It's all about that, isn't it? None of your marketing ever worked. You mailed out a postcard. The only reason it worked is it arrived at the time they were already thinking about selling their house, you know? You never convince anybody to list their house or sell a house. They were already going to do that. You just showed up at the time they were making the decision. And the same thing is true with social media. So you want to be social. You want to be really social. I know 2 guys, and Dave, these are not you and me, but I know 2 guys who get 80% of their business, even their new business, from social media. And you would probably know them if I told you their names, but they don't work for Hometown, so I ain't going to tell you. But here's what they do. Every day, 5 days a week, they go into the office. I think one of them does it in the morning, one of them does it later on. They spend up to 2 hours going on their social media and looking at other people's posts and interacting with other people's posts, commenting, being social, not necessarily talking about real estate, but when something comes up that might be related, they make a comment. No pressure, no promotion, no pushing themselves. And we'll talk about what kinds of things we're thinking of here a little bit farther into the class. But because they do that, it's scheduled in the office, they close the door for 2 hours or more and just go on their Facebook, their Twitter, their LinkedIn, their Instagram, and just interact with people. Facebook is the best because people are on there all the time. Comment, respond, like, and then look for opportunities to engage in the real estate conversation. I call it being there when life happens. I'll give you a couple examples. Oh, Bobby graduated from college. That's great. I remember when he was only 3 foot tall. Oh, by the way, is Bobby going to have to find a new place to live? Oh, Bobby went to college. Well, do you really think you're going to continue to need that 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath colonial, or is this a good time to downsize so that maybe Bobby won't move back in later? You see what I'm saying? You look for opportunities related to what happens in people's lives that relate to making decisions that could impact their housing. And if you've already established a relationship with them through social media, they won't feel like when you bring up the housing question that you're promoting yourself. They'll feel like you're just saying, well, if that's something you're going to deal with, hey, I'm your friend, I can help. And that's the manner and that's the attitude you want to have as you do this. So, you need good people scripts. Scripts are not a bad thing. Some people feel like salesperson scripts, you're trying to convince people to do something. And you can never do that, especially in social media. But you answer the same questions over and over again, don't you? You say the same things because people do the same things over and over again. If you have ever seen a real estate agent driving down 295, and you can tell because I got that R on their license plate, and they're talking, and there's no one else in the car, they're practicing their scripts. Because what they do is they give you the ability to answer a question or respond to an issue without having to think about it, so that it comes out natural, so that it comes out right. And so you need good people scripts, not good sales scripts, but good people scripts. They need to be personal. They need to be caring. They need to be compassionate. We're going to talk about some areas of when life happens later on that you might not think of as an opportunity because it'd be too uncomfortable. But there are some that you can be there for, or celebration. Because when you do this, it's not about success. It's not about the dollars. It's about help. It's about assistance. It's about service. And you need to realize as a real estate agent that you are offering people a service that they cannot provide for themselves like you can provide it for them. And you need to believe that. The reality is, and I make it a joke, but if there weren't real estate agents, there'd be a lot more buyers and sellers floating face down in the James River. You know what I'm saying? We keep people from killing each other. And we are in one of the most adversarial businesses in the world. And so if you are compassionate, caring, social, personal, involved, and service-minded, this will work for you. Does that make sense?
It does.
But let's do some of the regular stuff. You know, the ones where you go to the seminars for ordinary mortal real estate agents like the rest of us. We do have to talk about some of those things. So there are basically 4 social media sites out there, although I'm going to add a 5th one for you. And they serve different purposes. And you can see them illustrated by these 2 sets of panels. LinkedIn is your business. It's your profession. It's your professional appearance. It's business to business. You don't post your listings on there unless maybe they are a particular kind of house that might be of particular interest to business people. But you know what you do with LinkedIn? Here's your first homework assignment. I want you to go on your LinkedIn account. And if you don't have a LinkedIn account, I want you to make a LinkedIn account. And I want you to fill out your personal profile as completely as you can. All your education, all your experience, all of your history, all of your favorite things. If you like to take long walks on the beach and play guitar, put that in there. And then use that as your online resume. Because every time you go on a listing appointment or interview a buyer, is it not a job interview? And so your LinkedIn profile can be your online resume. You can link directly to your public profile on LinkedIn. You can put it in your signature. You can put it on your flyers. You can put it in a lot of places. It's your online resume. Facebook is all about interaction. It's about fun. It's about life. It's about telling everybody all the things about yourself that nobody ever really wanted to know anyway, but that's okay. And so your personality on your Facebook is going to be different. Instagram is your pictures. It's about all the amazing talents that you can do with your pictures and your videos and stuff. And I've never used Tinder, but judging by these, I guess it's a great place to get a date or something. But the point is, you're going to have a different purpose for each one of these social media sites, and you want to know what that purpose is, because it's going to control how you use it. But of all the things that I can tell you about using social media, this one is the most important. If you came to the class because Katina made you come to the class and you were only going to remember one thing, this is it. The most important thing about social media is you need to be telling a story. People don't want facts and information. They say they want facts and information, but they want their own facts and information. You need to be telling a story. When you talk about yourself, it needs to be a story. When you talk about your company, if you get the opportunity to, it needs to be a story. Your listing, don't tell people it has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. They can see that. Tell the listing story. And more importantly than any of the above, get in the habit of trying to tell your client's story. Here's an example. I don't know how good it is. I'm just going to read part of it. But instead of posting a listing on Facebook, how about this? Been a long day, and you're ready to come home, go down to the water's edge, and take in the gorgeous view. Maybe even take the paddle boat or kayak out on the lake. And then when the sun sets, you can go and hang out in your backyard hot tub or enjoy a movie with your family in the wonderful theater room. And then when the weekend starts, you can host a fantastic get-together using either your upstairs or downstairs kitchen to prepare and deliver food, play games in the yard, soak in nature, or go fishing on the reservoir. Do you see the difference? You have not only told the house's story, but you've told the client's story, perhaps, about what it would be like once they live here. Do you see how that's far more social than just colonial 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and 2,300 square feet? That's what we're talking about. You need to tell a story. So Facebook is all about relationships. LinkedIn, your online resume. But here's a couple of other things I've thought of. How many of you have a circle of influence, a database, COI? Most of you do. You might have it on little pieces of paper. You might have it in a spreadsheet. You might use Referral Maker, but you have your own circle of influence, circle of contacts. You can create groups in Facebook. Did you know that? Why not consider creating a group for all of your past and present customers and anybody else who might be related to you in some way through real estate, and use it as a private group for meeting, for discussing things, for posting things. And what things would you post? You wouldn't just post listings and call me. You'd post really helpful information, community information, information that they can use in their home, things that people would actually be interested in. It's kind of like a BNI or a 212 group. You ever do any of those? Anybody a part of a BNI group? Well, you could do that in Facebook and operate it in somewhat the same way. And the other social media site you might look into is called Nextdoor. Anybody familiar with Nextdoor? I have a Nextdoor group. It's Facebook local, basically, in a sense, or marketplace local. It's national, but you own your neighborhood. I went in and started a group right here. I live in Mechanicsville. And then once I started a group in my area, because there wasn't one, it offered to let me link to other groups that were in the area, and I did. And so now I have a Nextdoor group that's right here within a mile and a half radius with 9,000 people in it. And I post holiday tips, and people ask for where can I get somebody to repair my driveway. I give them a recommendation. And I post things about listing and selling houses. I've gotten contacts from it because I'm in front of people when they're making a decision, and they know that I'm a real estate agent. I think that's a good one. It's underutilized, and you might look into that one as another possibility. You need to know your audience. That's why getting on your Facebook personal page is so important, because they are your audience. These are the people that you know, or the people that know someone you know, and you tend to connect to people that you have a connection with. You need to know who your audience is. Video has become important. Let's talk about video. Last time I did this class, I only talked about video for a little bit because everybody thinks video is wonderful. I don't like video. When I go on Facebook, I don't want to watch your video. It's 3 minutes long. I want to read your paragraph and a half and then move on to the next thing. But that's just me. Everybody's doing video, and it's no longer that hard to do. How many of you have a fairly new smartphone? An iPhone, an Android? Yeah, they take great videos. And it's changed now, hasn't it, with the quarantine? Anybody doing more videos now during the quarantine than you were doing before? If you haven't thought about doing videos as an actual walkthrough, like you were showing the house and then making it available to people as a virtual showing, you're missing an opportunity, because people aren't going into houses as easily as they once did. And a virtual tour is not really a virtual tour. Did you know that? It's really a slideshow of your pictures from the MLS with music in the background. And it doesn't really do anything. You know what? Instead of a virtual tour, why don't you walk through your listing? Don't talk about yourself or your company. Use your phone as if you were with somebody showing the house. It's your listing. Don't you know how to talk about your listing better than anyone else? That's why they hired you, isn't it? And then host that somewhere on YouTube or Vimeo or something. Use that for your virtual tour in the MLS. You need fresh content on your social media. It's almost more important that your content changes regularly than it is what your content actually is. Because Facebook and other sites, Google and other search engines, one of the things that they look at is how often your content is updated. There's automated input. You probably already know about some. There are companies you can hook up with that will automatically post things to your social media sites so that you constantly have new, relative, well-written content that goes on your social media. I'll tell you what the problem with that is, though. 99% of them will only post to your real estate page. And where do you want most of this stuff to go? In one fashion or another. So get stuff posted to your real estate page, but then be constantly linking to it or linking your real estate page over to your social media page where all the people you want to talk to are located. And there are add-ons you can add to your Facebook page and some of your other sites. How many of you, you guys have an Icon Realty website, right? And I can go on it and search for homes, right? Of course I can. That's what everybody's website does. And you can do the same thing. There's MLS for Facebook where you can get an IDX on your Facebook real estate page so that people can search for homes. But at some point, at least on your Facebook real estate page, you need a call to action. You need a place that I can click if I want to reach out to you. You need a call me button, a click here to get my information button. And that's very important. You want to make sure you have that kind of call to action. Did you know that RAR has a ton of material resources that you can use for free and without attribution? If you go on the RAR website and go to the We Are the R marketing content link, you will find hundreds and hundreds of local pictures, professional quality pictures that you can use in your flyers and brochures and put on your social media. And you don't have to do a copyright. You don't have to give attribution. They're just free for you. And there's videos as well, hundreds of videos. I'm going to show you one in a minute that you can brand for yourself and use on all of your social media stuff. There's the housing interpreter, which has articles in it that you can repost on your stuff. And this is all available through We Are the R. Let me see if I can get to it. This is a new computer, and I've not done this through Zoom before, so let's see if it's going to mess us up or if it's going to show us what I want you to see. Now, I don't think you can see this screen, so I might have to switch to it briefly. Let's see. All right, can you see this Realtors, your local community experts window? All right, this is what it looks like. You get to it when you go to the RAR website. And down here, you can go to all kinds of materials and pictures and stuff that you can share. And it's free with your membership at RAR. And this is a little bit of personal promotion, not that I get anything out of it, but I'm on the committee for that. And so I really want you guys to go and use it because a lot of work went into creating that stuff. Let me show you what I mean by videos. Here's one of the videos they had on there. And I used a program called Adobe Spark. Anybody ever heard of it? It is free and it allows you to edit videos. It's very simple to use after you've practiced a few times. And let's see if this video will come up for me. It won't work for me today, which is a shame because it was really cool. I did a great job on it. It worked for me earlier. But this is all free content that is available for you. And there are programs that will help you manage your social media because it does take a lot of time. I went to a seminar once. Oh, this was about 7 years ago, and I raised my hand. It was all about social media, and I said, You know what I really need is I need a system that'll do for my social media what Outlook does for my email, where I can have it all in one place and manage it all at the same time. I should have invented Hootsuite, because Hootsuite lets you manage your Facebook, your LinkedIn, and your Twitter all at the same time. And I think they're adding Instagram and maybe a few others, but there's Buffer, there's lots of stuff out there that will help you manage your social media for these kinds of things. Remember, we're talking about the everyday things that the mere mortal real estate agents do every day on their social media that may help or may not help, but you can get help with doing it. Here's the latest thing that I've heard of. This is new. Hootsuite offers this, and there are some others like the ones that I see listed here. This is something I would very much want to look into. What it does is it connects to your feed and it listens, and you get to tell it what to listen for. It's kind of scary, actually, but everybody knows what you're doing anyway. Don't think there's any privacy on the internet anymore. There's not, but it listens, and if somebody in your circle makes a statement that might be related to real estate in some way, depending upon how you set it up, it lets you know. How cool is that? And it's called listening. Hootsuite offers it in their paid product. Some of these others offer it as well. It's the next level of social media monitoring, because that's what we really need. Is we need monitoring. We need to know what people are talking about, what people are interested in, what people are engaging in, so that we can participate. And this is the next level. You'll probably hear more about this in the coming months and years. Let's briefly talk about websites. They are part of your online presence in addition to social media. How many of you have an agent website? Yeah, of course, and you have to. But I want you to know the same thing is true of your website that is true of your social media. You do need one. Your customers expect you to have one. But you are a very small fish in a very crowded pond. There are probably 5,000 members of CVR MLS. 3,000 of them have an agent website, and guess what? There's nobody on the internet looking for you. I'm sorry. If I just broke your heart, try to hang in there till the end of the class. It'll get better. But there really isn't anybody looking for any of us on the internet. But you still need a website. Your website is a billboard in the middle of nowhere that you drive traffic to. Just like you're going to be the one ultimately that drives traffic to your social media. People aren't going to find it. They're not going to search for it unless they happen to be searching for you personally. They can go on your website and search for homes, but they're not going to go there to do it. They're going to go to Realtor.com. They're going to go to Zillow. That's just where they go. And so you get a website, you put it on your business card, on your flyers, you put it on your social media, you make a change to it and you put it on your feed and say, I just updated my website. I don't know if I did a good job. Let me know what you think and ask your friends to take a look at it. And then at the same time, they're looking at your website. It's the little trick you're doing. You drive traffic to it. The only reason people go to your website is they want to know more about you, whether you made them do it or not, and that's what your website is all about. So you can do search engine optimization. You can have people make changes and do things so that somebody does a search for real estate in Henrico, you show up first on the list for about 10 seconds, and then somebody else shows up the next time. So I'm not a big fan of search engine optimization. Tell you what I am a big fan of, though. And our websites just got this. Our websites have a reviews page. How many of you have a website with a reviews page? All right, this crosses over from websites to social media, but nobody's going to find your website and put a review on there. You need to tell them to do that. So here's your next homework assignment. If you have a website with a reviews page, I want you to go to your reviews page, and I want you to copy the link, and I want you to paste it into your email for your entire database and send it to everybody that you know, clients and everybody, and say, I got a reviews page on my website. I'm just getting used to using it, so take a look. And if you want to leave me a nice review, I'd appreciate it. And get about 10 or 12 or 15 reviews there. You know how important that is? Anybody go shopping on Amazon anymore? Of course you do. It's all we do anymore. And so you find something you're interested in. There's 4 different kinds. The first thing you look at is how many stars. And then you read the reviews. Well, it's the same thing for us. So you get about a dozen reviews on your reviews page, and it still doesn't help you because nobody ever goes to your website and reads the reviews, do you? Here's what you do with it that makes it work. You copy that link again. You send it out to your database with a nice personal message that basically says, look what my customers are saying about me. You post it on your social media, in your Facebook feed, and you say, look what my customers are saying about me. And you find different ways to say it. You know, you keep it subtle. But that takes your reviews page and makes it work because you're not expecting your website to drive it. You are driving it yourself. Does that make sense? That's what the value, I think your reviews page might be the most valuable thing on your website because you can literally do something with it. It doesn't just sit there. And remember, this is all about the real estate conversation. And if you haven't done it, you need to go on a lot of those websites out there where MLS distributes your listings. Many of them, Zillow does, Realtor.com does, of course, have a free opportunity to fill out an agent profile so that when somebody clicks on one of your listings, it doesn't have your name and phone number. It has a picture, it has some information about you, and most of these are free. I know MLS sends these things out to hundreds of websites. You can't do them all, but get the list, go to listhub.net or listhub.com and see who they distribute to. Try going to some of those websites. Do a couple every week until you get these profiles filled out. Does anybody do Zillow reviews? Zillow reviews and some of those others now have the ability, even Facebook has reviews now. I haven't figured out how to use them yet because I don't list and sell real estate. But even Facebook has reviews, and many of you who have websites, those reviews can be automatically imported into your reviews page on your website to keep it fresh, to keep it active, and give you something that you can use in the rest of your social media. We are getting close to the end here, so hang in there. You guys are doing great. Then you want to link it all together. In your web page, you want to have links to your social media, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Twitter. In your Facebook profile, in your LinkedIn profile, you want to have a link to your social media sites so that no matter which one I'm in, I mean link to your website. So that if I'm in your Facebook, I can get to your website. If I'm in your website, I can get to your Facebook. You want to link these all together so that they are two-way streets. You might consider a designation. I have an ePro designation. It's a NAR designation for the use of electronics and technology in real estate. And the neat thing is that you belong to a community and they are always sharing new insights and new ideas. And you can contact RAR to see if this is something you might be interested in. This is the last slide, and then we'll be done, because I want to tell you the story of the most powerful social media opportunity I've ever heard of. The person who made more out of social media than anyone else I know. And here's the thing. It happened in 1975. Now, those of you who are old enough to remember, did we have computers in 1975? Did we have the internet in 1975? So how could this be social media? But let me tell you the story. I got my GRI, my Graduate Realtor Institute designation in 1988. It was a lot easier to get then. Now you got to take 12 classes and it takes a year. And then they had 3 classes and I did it in a couple of months. But my teacher in one of the classes told this story. And it's a true story. This was up in New Jersey. His name was Carl. He owned a real estate office in the Princeton area. Yeah, the Princeton area. And one day he got a call from somebody who had just gotten a real estate license and they wanted to talk to him about being hired to come work for his firm as a real estate agent. So he said, sure, come on in. A little while later, the guy pulled into the parking lot, opened up the door to his car, reached behind the seat, levered out a wheelchair, opened up the wheelchair, lowered himself in it, and started wheeling himself into the office. Now remember, this is 1975. There were no disability adaptions in those days. You couldn't get in and out of most places, at least not without a lot of difficulty. And so as he's watching him come in, Carl asks himself, how's this guy going to sell real estate? He can't go to people's houses. He can't meet with customers and clients. But he brought him in and he interviewed him and he hired him. And the fellow did only one thing. He subscribed to every newspaper in the entire area. You remember newspapers, right? We used to use them. We used to read them. He subscribed to every single one. And what he would do every single day is he'd go to the personal section and the obituary section and all of those sections. And he'd clip out the announcements and he would laminate them. And then he would find the people's addresses and he'd get a little card with a nice handwritten note. Congratulations on Bobby's graduation. Congratulations on Ellie, your new baby. Congratulations on your engagement. I'm sorry about your loss. Here's the announcement that I saw in the paper about it. I thought you'd like to keep a copy of it. And he'd put his business card in. That's all he did, day after day after day. Now understand, he couldn't show houses. He never met a client. In fact, what he would do is if you called him, he would say, oh, I can't meet with you, but I'll send my associate, which means, now you know how it works. He didn't get half of a transaction. He got half of a transaction because he always had to split his half with his associate. For 7 years, 7.5 years, he was the highest producing agent in Mercer County, New Jersey, because he understood how social media actually works. He understood how to be present when life happens. Every customer and client you've ever gotten, for the most part, hired you because you were present when the time came for them. And that's how you make social media work. You engage in the relationship, the conversation, and when life happens, you are present. Even the negative experiences. You don't want to make it sound like, oh, somebody passed away, do you want to sell your house? But you can show compassion and concern and be there because they are going to have to make some difficult decisions. And if you have a relationship with them already, you can be the one that helps them with those decisions. So that's how social media works. That's how you make it work. Any last quick questions? Alrighty then. Well, I hope that was worth your while. I'd love to hear back from you if you try and do some of these things. Feel free to call me or text me or email me if you have questions. I'd love to hear how this stuff works for you if you start doing it. Have a great evening. It was great being here. I really enjoyed doing this. And I will see you next time.
Thanks, Joe.
Is he going?